So apart from pulling booze off the shelf and threatening to cut off electricity to Fox News, what did Canada tariff in response? Well, foodstuff like poultry, cheese, and fruits and vegetables. Canada produces many of these locally, but can also import stuff from Latin America, so Canadians won't be forced to swallow the cost of the tariffs, unlike Americans who will have to swallow the cost of tariffs on oil. And you know what? Yeah, fine. If you're a Canadian and you still really want those cherry tomatoes, you can probably afford to pay the tariff. Another segment highly tariffed is articles of clothing, as well as handbags and other satchels. Now, Canada does make some of these domestically, though they are pretty expensive, but here we are saved by the glories of Southeast Asian sweatshops. I know that sounds mean, but let's be honest, all of the clothing I can afford to buy is made in Cambodia or Bangladesh and is thus not tariffed. If you're buying US-made clothing in Canada, may I suggest buying from a local Canadian manufacturer since you can clearly afford it? And if you insist on buying American clothing during a trade war, you can definitely afford the tariff. Also, are you hiring? I'm asking for a friend since they're all going to lose their jobs because of the tariffs. The same basically goes for shoes. All of my shoes have been sewed by somebody with more fingers than years alive, and that's all I can afford. And yeah, okay, that makes me a bad person, but adjusted for inflation and housing costs, I make the same amount in 2025 as I did in 2019. Thanks, Justin. Canada is also tariffing drones, as well as, and I am not kidding right now, bombs, grenades, torpedoes, mines, missiles, and similar munitions of war and parts thereof. Justin, Carney, were we previously allowed to buy a landmine? Like, if my neighbor keeps parking his car on my half of the shared driveway, was I previously allowed to just, never mind. Anyway, the last big chunk of items tariffed include motorcycles and furniture, where again, there are domestic producers. So either Canadian consumers can buy lower quality, non-US imported items, or if you have extra money in your pants this tax return season, you'll simply pay the tariff. Don't you love it when the government takes too much money off your check, but then they give it back to you a year later without any interest? I love it. In fact, while I have clowned on Justin in the past, and I know it's Carney now because his video took forever to come out, but whatever, we'll just move forward. The decision to counter-tariff has been pretty well handled so far, targeting industries where the following characteristics are met. 1. There exists Canadian or other imported alternatives that won't break the bank for us, and 2, and this one is more optional, if it targets industries in red states. For example, Kentucky bourbon, Harley-Davidson motorcycles, RVs, and farm products in general, since farmers tend to vote Republican, which by the way makes no sense since so many of them hire illegal immigrants, and Trump wants to deport all of them so US farmers can have the joy of trying to convince Americans to pick lettuce for $5 an hour? I don't know. I also know that not everybody in a red state voted Republican, obviously, but what can I say? You can't invade Iraq without some collateral damage. Now that the politics is mostly out of the way, more than 20 minutes in, I would like to invite my alter ego from your finance guide to assist with the more technical side of the explanation here. Thanks! Follow me to the Econ 101 classroom.